We'll be holding a rally tomorrow ahead of that motion of no confidence against Athol Trollip on Thursday. Mayor Malema has said that the move is in retaliation to the DA's opposition to his party's successful motion on land expropriation in the National Assembly. The count is expected to be a tight contest, and at this stage there's no clear indication about how some of those smaller parties may vote. Political analyst Ongama Mtimka lives in Nelson Mandela Bay, and he joins us now on the line from the Metro. Ongama, the ANC's decision not to field their own candidate is an indication of what? Mistrust of the EFF, or perhaps giving something to the smaller parties?
In a word, I think what I would say, Bongani, here, this is a decision for me which is relieving to some degree. I'll tell you why. If you look at the condition that the ANC is in Nelson Mandela Bay, it's almost like they were caught off guard by a proposal of this nature. Because politically, they don't have a chairperson, for example, and if they were able to pull somebody else other than their own chairperson to be in the council, there would have been a lingering reshuffle immediately after the chairperson issue has been resolved. Understanding ANC politics in this region, understanding the principle of not separation, of one center of power, and how things turned out when the ANC pulled in people that were not from this, either from this city or have some grounding in the regional leadership structure. It tended to be very nice. I think they're doing, it will be a good service for the people of Nelson Mandela Bay that the coalition is saved from the fragility of ANC politics. That's one. I think there could be other reasons that the ANC, maybe as a matter of principle, doesn't want to be seen to have been offered an opportunity by the EFF and would rather perhaps lead their own process, because they don't know. I mean, the EFF's objectives are a moving target. They don't know what tomorrow the EFF will require as a condition for their continued support. If you look at how they have responded to the DA mayor, for example, it was not the doing of the local politicians in Nelson Mandela Bay, but a national position that made the DA lose the EFF's support. So that will be a very fragile coalition government situation if they had taken. I think this is a wise way forward as far as I'm concerned.
Do explain it to me. What is in it for the EFF? As you say, this wasn't about politics in Nelson Mandela Bay, but rather national differences between the two parties. And if you look at the political spectrum, there are those who would suggest that the DA is on the right of that spectrum, with the EFF on the left. Certainly nothing has changed. What's in it for Julius Malema to push so hard on this issue?
So I think politically, the EFF does want to. So when the coalition with the DA happened, it was clearly not about ideological grounds, because the EFF is a left party and the DA is almost the center to right. It was about agreement on governance principles, having cleaning up government. So now that there has been a change in the ANC and in perceptions about how the ANC is seen, I do think that there is pressure within the EFF to try and remake itself and reframe itself and reframe the relations that it has. And I don't think, by the way, resolving the Nelson Mandela Bay issue is going to be enough. There are going to be questions going forward as far as the EFF is concerned, even about coalition governments in other cities where the EFF wants to redeem itself as a leftist party and a very strong ideological purist, if you like, who are committed to radical economic transformation, or what they call economic freedom in our lifetime. So for me, the relationship with the DA was always on a shaky ground that is not ideology, but politics of the Zuma era.
So what's in it for the smaller parties then? You may have heard Athol Trollip speaking to our Francis Hurt just a moment ago, who says that any swing away from this coalition will spell a death knell for the smaller parties because, of course, they'll be swallowed up by the ANC juggernaut. What's in it for them?
I suppose their approach has been bargaining for more influence in council, where, for example, they say that the coalition opportunities to found new coalition avail them opportunities to represent their constituencies, which may be very small constituencies, in an augmented power base, where precisely because they are needed to kind of shift the balance of forces in a certain direction, now they suddenly have a greater voice. So on an ideological basis, they may just say, so politically they may say they need the influence at an executive level because they can best represent their constituencies. But also, what we cannot rule out is that opportunities like these offer the politicians at a local level opportunities for them to actually get into council, in the executive, where otherwise they would not have been able to land those kinds of jobs. And also it's linked to opportunities to discharge patronage, really.
All right, they do say a week is a long time in politics. That will all be decided in the next 48 hours. Ongama Mtimka there on the line from Port Elizabeth.
And an interesting development, Bongani, the Patriotic Alliance has released a statement tonight. Now, they are the party with just one vote, but if the DA has 57 plus COPE plus ACDP plus the Patriotic Alliance, it's at 60. So we basically have a split down the middle if all the other parties are with the EFF. It'll be very interesting indeed what happens on Thursday.